recording on my end as well, just
Okay.
so we have the audio in case, something happens.
Yeah, we all are. So yeah, he should have plenty of copies. All right. Hello. Welcome back to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Yeah, I know. Great imitation. That is not your High Priest of Khonshu, Ray. This is Phil. No longer fill me in because I've already filled in. This is like the second time I've filled in for Ray already. So I think it's Phil fill-in page now from the Capes and Lunatics podcast. Joining me tonight for another Round the Robin episode, we have Big Major Looney, the power of Chad.
Hi.
Hear that power?
Yeah, so much power. Just exuding this stuff, really.
And I bet I had that reverb on my voice, Ray. And also joining us tonight, host of Capes on the Couch, Anthony, the Senor Sitko.
Howdy. It's good to be here. Good to be back on the show. Looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a lot of fun.
He's like the guy that comes out on the talk show and is like, oh, I get the fill-in host. Oh, thanks. But yes, we are here tonight for another Roundtable Robin special. This time, I got thrown into this at the last second. I guess Ray was going to do this with you guys, but the way the world is these days, things go. All plans go out the window. So I guess you guys are planning their top 5 Moon Knight artists of all time.
That is correct. Top 5 Moon Knight artists not named Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yes, I was going to say that's the caveat. No Bill Sienkiewicz. Anyone else is on the table.
Yeah, we sort of all collectively agreed that Bill was going to be pretty much everybody's top pick. So we were like, let's just, throw him off to the side and exclude him. And then anybody else is fair game.
Yeah.
So why do you think, in your opinion, why is he held up in such high regard? Because he wasn't the very first artist to ever draw Moon Knight, but he did draw the first ongoing series. Is that it, or?
Well, I'll let Chad go first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I think it has a lot to do with him being such a pioneer of multimedia.
Yes.
Like, he'll just throw anything that he needs in there. And so he just really changed the landscape. So he brought that on the strange, bits when he was working on New Mutants. And he just kind of like trailed that along everywhere he went. Like, his covers are just phenomenal. Doesn't matter what project he's doing. So it just, you really feel it in the earlier works, like in Moon Knight.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of that, I think a lot of it is because, especially on Moon Knight, we got to see Bill evolve as an artist. He started off as that Neil Adams clone, and he'll be the first one to tell you that was definitely his style. And over the course of those 20 or so issues that he drew, he grew from this young artist trying to find his style into Bill Sienkiewicz, so that by the time he started the New Mutants, he was already a known entity. And then from there, he just went off. But Moon Knight was really sort of where he made his mark, and just the stories that he told. Yeah, no pun intended, I swear.
Mark Spector.
But it's just the way that he told the stories using the visual medium was just absolutely just a masterpiece. I mean, that sequence from, I forget which issue it is, but where it's all around, you know what I'm talking about, all around the stair as the guy's shooting at him, and it's just sort of like in a circle. Yeah. So everybody knows that page, and it's just like to think of that is genius level. And so I think anybody who's worked on Moon Knight over the years would be the first one to tell you that they look to those Mensch Sienkiewicz stories as their jumping off point and their inspiration. I know Charlie Houston certainly spoke about that in the foreword to The Bottom, and that was sort of what inspired him to want to tell his stories. But from an artistic standpoint, I think everybody acknowledges Bill is top. And I mean, it's still to this day, Bill Sienkiewicz is still doing godly work some 40 years later, he's still going and he still has the energy of a teenager. If you've ever had the opportunity to meet him, you know what I'm talking about.
I forget. I heard an interview with him somewhere. Yeah, I could tell. Yeah, he seems really passionate about the work and everything.
Yeah, he loves it.
That is awesome. So yeah, so that's why we're not including Sienkiewicz in our list, because whatever is above number one, that there he is. So, but we skipped around a little bit. Yeah, we talked to Sienkiewicz, but tonight's episode is a spotlight segment. Because it's a new moon. So Ray does not want to anger Khonshu. So yeah, that's why we're looking at the top 5 Moon Knight artists. What?
He's a vengeful god,
Who, Ray or Khonshu?
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer to either of those is yes.
All right. So yes,
He'll bring the thunder from down under.
Yes. And speaking of our vengeful god, Ray, he wants you to go out and support the sponsors. Well, first, the gracious patroonies, all of you supporting the Patreon, please keep it up. Of course, we're listed as co-producers, executive producers, and of course, your name's in the show description, I believe. And check out Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best. Was that an Australian accent almost slipping in? I don't know.
I hope not.
I keep him in my head, and I'm just like, don't do the Australian accent.
It could have been there, man. You didn't know.
Right. All right, so. Oh, man, did he not include Connor's rating system? Man, I wanted the Connor rating system, like a half boy or a fuck off or whatever that is. I can't remember.
Big fuck off move.
Yeah, I want the Connor rating system. Ray, if you ever ask me to do this again, you must include the Connor rating system.
I forgot we can be a little more free with our language. I'm accustomed to my PG-13 show.
Oh, me too. That's what I was like. That's why I paused for a second. I was like, oh wait, this isn't one of my shows. I can go full out. Okay. That's right. Anything goes in the land of Ray. All right. So we'll do our first 2 picks and then take a break. So I will go first. Like I said, I don't think I have anything too radical. So hopefully you guys may have done a deeper dive. Well, Anthony, you said you had like what? We're supposed to do 5. You have like 26 on your list.
I ranked 26 artists on my list.
Well, I guess if we have some repeats or, if all of us or some of us pick the same guy, you can add another one in there.
Well, I was going to say before I get to my number 1, I'll announce a couple of honorable mentions. Because there's just, and by the way, I don't know how either of you did it. I stuck only to artists who worked on the main Moon Knight titles. I was not going by artists who worked on, say, Secret Avengers or West Coast Avengers or Heroes for Hire or anything like that. I was sticking to the main canonical Moon Knight titles, starting with, the Sienkiewicz Mensch run, all the way through to the Max Bemis run. So
I can kind of say that I kind of cheated because one of mine did like a fill-in issue, but he also did other Moon Knight work elsewhere. So
okay, that's
right.
Fair.
So how do we want to do this? Do we want to do our top first, or do we want to go from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Oh, 5 to 1. You got to build, man. You can't just shoot your wad right off the bat, because otherwise it'll be like 20 minutes. Yeah, exactly. You got to tease them in. You got to let them work it a little bit.
Welcome back to the dirtiest episode of Into the Night and Moon Knight podcast.
This is what happens at the table.
That's what happens when Daddy's not home.
I was going to say, this is what happens when you invite the power of Chad. It's all Chad.
That's right. That Chad's a bad influence.
Fucking perv.
I know. he's the drunk uncle letting us get away with everything. See?
Yeah, he's holding it up. He's imbibing. I had water. I'm good.
Oh no.
We should be drinking Coronas.
All right. I will kick it off. All right. For number 5, I think I got to go with Greg Smallwood, who I liked his art. He did that arc was kind of I don't know, kind of way out there. The art really kept me. I mean, the story was interesting, but again, I was like, oh, what the hell is going on here? And the art really like helped keep me focused and just helped me hang in there.
Okay.
Does anyone? Did no one else had Smallwood?
I had Smallwood.
Oh,
I'm sorry to hear that, Chad. Sounds like a personal problem. You know, they have medication for that?
1 in 5.
I mean, like, come on. You just teed that one up there.
You never have
All
this
right.
party, Ray.
All
All
right.
right. Which one
So, you're basing it off of the, the Brian Wood, the Greg Wood, Brian Smallwood run, which is those two names together. Just, it's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
What I guess, Ray had a couple of questions. So what were your thoughts on how? Because I was at least for me,
Yes.
I was focusing primarily on the pencils, and if they also did inks, then I focused on that. But what were some of your thoughts about how the pencils and inks went with the colors? Because Smallwood did pencils and art, but I don't think he did. I don't think he did colors.
No, I think he did a good job. At least, again, it's hard when you have like different inkers or colors, but I think he did a good job because like you really kind of jump scenes, between Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. I mean, you could be on a movie set, or was it a TV set? Then you could be on the moon, or you could be, the cities turned into ancient Egypt and stuff. I mean, I think he did a good job of like setting the different tones and stuff. And some artists could like fall. I don't want to say just coast and kind of everything looks the same. I think he did a good job of setting the tone for that series.
Okay, all right. So I guess Chad, who's your number 5?
My number 5 was actually going to be Jerome Pena
Ooh,
for the Vengeance of the Moon Knight series.
Nice.
I just really like the flair. So there's lots of action. It's more like of a AAA big budget movie where, usually everything else that's been in Moon Knight has been like kind of a noir or like classic Batman type. Oh, there's the word.
that's getting bleeped.
Well, the second time we say it, we get bleeped. But yeah, Jerome Pena, like the flair of like the gunfire and just zooming through the city and whatnot, it was really intense, and it just was kind of, I don't know, it felt like a Moon Knight page, but at the same time, it's like a different feel completely.
I especially love Moon Knight First Century, Dawn of Justice.
Yeah. That's kind of part of what I was thinking about with Jerome, is when he is paired up with Sentry for that brief second, where Sentry is just gonna really lay it out for him, just, hey, eventually you're gonna crack. And then Moon Knight's just like, how are you any better? What happens when you crack?
Yeah, if there's anybody who shouldn't be talking to Moon Knight about cracking, it's Bob.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on Bob on my show, and oh boy, he's a strange one.
Do you say, all right, they're probably the perfect guy to talk to about this, Anthony. Like modern comics, I mean, half the characters now are basically like have multiple personalities or some kind of emotional issues, correct?
It's funny. I actually got into a Twitter thread with somebody over this issue recently because they said that all characters have PTSD and most of them have dissociative identity disorder. And I said that that's definitely not the case, that DID is vastly misunderstood in terms of real life. And I'm not going to get on too much of a soapbox. My co-host Doc Issues has done that plenty of times in our show, but I'll just say that dissociative identity disorder is vastly overblown in media as it is portrayed versus how common it is in real life. And PTSD is a very specific diagnosis and is not nearly as common. Do many heroes have trauma? Absolutely. PTSD is a very specific diagnosis and should not be just thrown around willy-nilly for heroes. Does Moon Knight have some? God, we did Moon Knight in our 4th episode and we're on 75 now. So it's a little hard for me to recall back, but I know that Moon Knight definitely suffers from a number of trauma, as does the Sentry. The Sentry has a lot of issues going on, but again, we did both of those characters on my show. So little plug for Capes on the Couch. If you want to hear those episodes, go to capesonthecouch.live. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. And that's all I'll say about that. But sorry for derailing the show.
That's all right. No, I asked you a question. No, that was good. All right, Chad, anything else about your number 5?
Like I said, it was a different feel for Moon Knight, but it was a really, it just felt like a new glove. It's fresh to get broken in and, does the job.
Oh, yeah. All right, Anthony, who's your number 5?
My number 5 is probably the only one of the 5 picks that is out there a little bit. And it's because this particular artist did not get a full run on Moon Knight, and that is Francesco Francavilla. He did some of the fill-ins, I guess, for lack of a better term, during the Lemire run. And when they were showing the various stages or the various alters of Moon Knight, Francesco Francavilla did the artwork for Jake Lockley. So when it shifted to Jake Lockley, Francavilla's art took over. I think Jeff Stocco was doing Mark, and then I don't remember who was doing Stephen Grant. But so each time the persona shifted, the artwork shifted. And I think that was because the main artist wasn't able to, I think it was Smallwood, actually. I don't think he was able to do the entire run for health reasons or whatever. So they came up with this conceit that when the persona shifted, the artwork would shift. And so all these artists did like 4 to 7 or 8 pages per issue. And so we never actually got a full issue of Francesco Francavilla, but his style is just, if you read, he does Afterlife with Archie, or he did Afterlife with Archie. I don't think he's doing it anymore for Archie Comics. It's just an incredible, it's a very noir style, and it suits Jake Lockley so well. It's incredibly distinctive because he does the pencils, the ink, and the colors. So he's one of those rare artists that does it all. And so he puts his full stamp on it, and he just has a great use of colors and lighting. He makes the characters and locations feel very distinct. And I would love to see a full series, or hell, even like a full issue or 2 of just Francesco Francavilla's artwork on Moon Knight, because I was enthralled with the artwork in those segments. In the Jake segments was definitely my favorite of the 3 for the Lemire run. And like I said, so I mean, I gave everybody a number system. I rated them out of 10, and it wasn't just, and I went to like a decimal point. So he gets an 8.6 out of 10 for me. Personally, that's just, my take on it. And I think I guess I knocked him like a smidge or 2. It really isn't his fault, that because he never did a full issue, or he never got to do a full arc with it, that we never really got to see what he was fully capable of. And I don't remember if he did like Moon Knight proper, if it was just like mostly Jake Lockley and just the characters and such. But like I said, I'm a big fan of his style in general, and those little tastes, those little morsels of Moon Knight that we're able to get from him definitely whetted my appetite. So I'd love to see more from him. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on Francavilla.
No, I remember now he was on that series. I did enjoy his work. Yeah, you're absolutely correct in everything you said.
So I guess if we're doing this like a serpentine draft, then I will go back to back and give my number 4. And my number 4 is Alex Maleev. So he's.
Are we all picking Chad pick?
Well, I mean, hey, listen. I don't have a problem with repeating picks because I think we all have our different reasons and rationales, and as long as we explain why we picked them where we picked them, we can definitely repeat artists. Because otherwise, it's just like whoever gets to them first is, whoever gets the Declan first is going to call Declan, and so et cetera, et cetera.
And again, it's not like Moon Knight's not Spider-Man. There's not like thousands of issues out there with all these art.
Yeah.
According to Bendis, he is Spider-Man.
We're not going to get into that. But for Maleev, and it's funny you bring that up because he did the artwork on the Bendis run. But I say what you will about the writing. I thoroughly enjoyed the artwork. Maleev has a very flowy style. I don't know how much of this. I think he did it digitally, but I know that Maleev likes to work in watercolors. I know he did not for this style for this series. He was primarily just doing, I guess, digital, ink and pencils. But he has his style is he makes even dialogue scenes feel very fluid. Even if there's not action, you still get a sense of flow from panel to panel as to what's happening. And that to me is a sign of a great artist. If they can make non-action scenes seem a bit flowy, then you're doing a great job. He's a great framer within the panel. He knows exactly what to put where to draw your eye to what it is that you should be looking at. But he's got great backgrounds as well, so that even if you're not looking where you're supposed to, you're still picking up on good detail. And I think he does really good facial expressions without being overly detailed. And there's one or two artists that I thought had incredible detail, so much so that it actually detracts from the panel and the page as a whole, because then you end up getting lost in the weeds and it doesn't flow well. So he has just the right amount of detail. And with the facial expressions, I think he did a great job. So he's 8.7 out of 10 for me on Alex Maleev.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I had a little problem with Bendis's writing on that arc, but
Bendis.
And I love Maleev's art. I love their both of them, their work on Daredevil.
Yes.
That's what I think where that team really shines is Daredevil.
So he's my number 4 pick.
All right, Chad. The power of Chad. What's your number 4?
So I was going to pick Smallwood. So thanks.
Okay.
You can do it. You can go for it. Nobody's stopping you.
Yeah. Then I'm going to go with Smallwood because he's a great
Come on.
artist.
Yeah, okay.
1 in 5, right? But yeah, Smallwood's work is just really great. I keep saying that for like a general statement, but it just feels like everything is the way that everything is mitigated from panel to panel. It doesn't feel like anyone is stuck out of it. It's very much like Moon Knight is in his own head. So he's organic with the scenery. Doesn't matter what's going on. He just kind of is a chameleon. Goes back and forth from different sets to different like mindscapes. Realistically, he's in his head for the most part. So it's just nice to see that he works well inside of himself. Also, I'm drinking, so it's gonna.
Yes. All right. My number 4. I got to pick Jason Burrows because
Yes.
I mean, love or hate, whatever your thoughts on the Bemis run, I think Burroughs really, I mean, his pencils really improved that story. It complemented it. If you love the story, it complemented it. If you hated it or like, oh, well, at least this art is nice. And he also reminds me of someone else who I will throw in higher on my list, my probably my number 2. So yeah, I love the clean, crisp art. Like I said, really set the tone for me, and it's probably why I like the Bemis stuff as much as I did. And hey, Jason Burroughs drew the very first appearance of Ray, Connor, and Rebecca in a comic book. So
That is true.
Fact. And they had guns.
yes, and masks. Yes. So see Ray. You need to put that in your profile, Ray. First appearance, Moon Knight 200.
Was 200? I thought it was 199.
I thought it was in that big 200, or am I wrong?
Hmm.
Maybe it was. I haven't read.
You're wrong, Phil. No.
Just
Just kidding.
but yeah, I love the art. It kind of reminds me of like a 90s. It's like kind of like a 90s take, but also current stuff. Like I said, it wasn't as dark as some of the other ones, and I just really liked it. And again, it brought up my enjoyment of the Bemis stuff.
It's actually a good point. I can't recall a lot of Moon Knight ever taking place during the day. But a lot of that run took place during the day.
Well, yeah, Sun King.
Oh, yeah, but...
And the storyline that had a big impact on this podcast, the Isle of Ra.
Yeah. God.
Ray stole so much from that art.
Yeah.
It's
getting some use.
Yes. Like I said, I that's some of the stuff, like, you know, that, well, again, it's like the last ongoing series, but yeah, that's some of the art some of the Moon Knight art I really like came from that arc. So
let's see. 200. I'm pulling it up right now.
Well, while you do that, I think we have to. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to throw some advertisements in here.
Yeah,
per Ray's instructions.
That's right.
So Chad can look all that up. We'll take a break, throw in some advertisements for other shows, and then we come back. We'll get into our top 3, and Chad can say whether or not Phil is wrong.
Cliffhanger.
Dun-dun-dun.
So yes, so after you hear these ads for Capes and Lunatics and Capes on the Couch, we'll be right back.
You shills.
And we're back.
And Phil's right.
That's the best way to come back to Into the Night and Moon Knight podcast. Ray, you can put that in every episode. Phil was right. And we are back to talk our final 3 picks, all 3 of us, for our top 5 favorite Moon Knight artists.
Who are not Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yes,
who are not Bill Sienkiewicz. All right, so should we keep doing the serpentine thing, or should
let's
Chad? Oh, you're not gonna let Chad go first at all, ever?
No, well, I don't. 6 of one, half dozen the other than me. I just figured we went serpentine for the first 2. Sharpentine, Shelley, Sharpentine.
Okay, screw him. Okay.
No, that's it. There's no plan. That's it, Shelley. We're fucked. That's it. The In-Laws, Peter Falk, and Alan Arkin.
Oh my God,
it's
are you
been
older
a
than
long
Ray?
time.
I make fun of Ray's age because he's 2 months older than me. Are you older than Ray?
I'll be 38 in May. I don't know.
Oh, okay, no, me and Ray are both older than you.
Okay. But that's a classic film. The In-Laws, check it out. Serpentine. So whenever I hear Serpentine, that's it, Shelley. There's no plan. We're fucked. So, all right, go ahead, Phil. Who's your 3 pick?
All right, my number 3 pick is Declan Shalvey, who again, I mean, beautiful art, but of course gave us, you know, the Mr. Knight look and one of my favorite suits, that black and white suit. I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty classic.
really, yeah, like redefined like the look of Moon Knight with two times with that new suit and the Mr. Knight look, which Mr. Knight supposed to be? I mean, in that run they played him serious, but like maybe it's just different writers. But when he showed up in Damnation, they almost played him like Deadpool.
Yeah, that's the
Almost
constant
like
problem.
Yeah.
No one takes him seriously because he's just Deadpool. And Kate's like actively regrets how much he didn't play him into being like Moon Knight. But just it's painful to this day.
Yeah, Cates is a great writer.
Yeah.
I'm loving his Thor run right now.
Oh,
it's getting weird.
I dig it. I like the whole, Thor with the power cosmic and all that other stuff. So maybe it's just me. I'm easy to please.
Gave him his arm back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not uncommon for regeneration, but it's
no. Yeah.
So does that mean the Destroyer's gonna get his arm back?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So Phil, of the 6 Declan issues that we did get, which one is your favorite?
What issue was that? The visual I always think of, if it's not Mr. Knight in the black and white suit, just him leaping like across the sky, and you get like that big shot of the cape like flowing behind him. Which issue was that? I forget, but that
2
is
or
like
3.
That is like the iconic image I get when I first think of that run.
Okay. All right. Well, minor spoilers. I'll talk about my favorite Declan issue when I get to him in my list.
Oh, nice. That's right.
So, all right. So then, Chad, who's your 3?
POC. Who's your chick?
One from the Marvel Spotlight one shot.
Ooh.
I really, really loved that bit. It was dark, it was moody, it was a lot like Alex Maleev, and like the watercolors bleeding into everything. It seemed like actually like breathed into each panel. And I know he didn't write it, but just the way that the action sequence borrowed from the Declan Shalvey run, it just felt like all the best parts of Moon Knight were in that run, like that one shot. I don't know.
All right. I didn't.
I know a lot of people didn't like it, so
I confess I didn't. I mean, I have it. I've read it, but I didn't research it because it wasn't technically in the main line. So I don't. It's not sticking with me. So I apologize.
What did it make your list of 26?
No, it didn't make because he wasn't in the. It's not a Moon Knight issue. It's a Marvel Spotlight issue. So that's why I didn't. For me.
So all 26 on your list were from like a Moon Knight ongoing series?
Yes. Either, Moon Knight, Mark Spector Moon Knight, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, one of those series. All 26 on my list were from those series.
I mean, I know that it went on for decades, but I probably would have guessed lower that all the ongoing series had 26 artists. I would have guessed lower for some reason.
I may have even missed 1 or 2 because I was really just looking at folks that did like, at least like a couple of issues. So if there was somebody who stuck one in somewhere, there's like a fill in, no pun intended. Then I missed them, but there's at least 26 artists who worked on Moon Knight in the proper canon. So
that's where Ray puts in the sound of a cannon.
All right, so I guess it's my number 3.
Yes.
And my number 3 is Chad's number 5, Jerome Opeña. Who I loved that redesigned tactical suit for one thing. Just very real. And a lot of what Chad was saying really stuck with me. And I think the reason why it's like big budget is because that's the storyline, is that Moon Knight is making his return, especially in that first issue back, where he's basically like a big fuck you to Norman Osborn. That, you know, he's coming out like on Broadway. He, you know, beats up all the bad guys, but he doesn't kill anybody. And the cops are like, oh no, we have to go get him. And he's like, no, he didn't actually kill anybody. You know, they're pissed off. They're banged up, but nobody died. And for Opeña, all of his faces look like real people. There's just the way that he details it. They all look very real and not cartoony. He's got details in all the right places. Every panel has motion like built into it. It feels very fluid. And again, that's at least for me, what I keep coming back to is these artists that make their panels feel like they're moving, like it's a frame in a movie and not just a snapshot. You know, a frame in a movie versus a photo. I want something that looks like it feels like it flows from panel to panel to panel, and you're not just getting posed, stilted frames of, you know, punch, kick, action here, whatever. Like, I want it to feel real. And Opeña definitely does that. So for me, he's a 9.3 out of 10.
Oh,
damn.
9.3.
So then I guess I go back to back. And so then my number 2 is Phil's number 3, and that is Declan Shalvey, who I have had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times at New York Comic Con, and I cosplayed as that version of Moon Knight. And I spoke about this briefly when I was on Ray's show, when I was a guest talking about my Moon Knight script and everything. And Declan is he's a super, super nice guy. And so I got to meet him, and I went dressed not as Mr. Knight, but as the black and white Moon Knight suit. And I met him at New York Comic Con, and he saw me walking towards him, and I guess he hadn't seen that many cosplayers of his version. And so he like jumps right out from behind the table, and he's like, oh my God, can I take a picture with you? And I was like, absolutely. You know, he's just like super nice guy. And then this was like right after he had announced that he would be leaving after issue 6. So he and Ellis were leaving after issue 6. And she's like, would you mind taking a photo, pretend to break my wrist? And I was like, okay. It's strange ask, but sure. So I have a photo of me, and like, so he's down on his knees, and I'm like bending his wrist back, and he's like, ah. And then he tweeted it, and then Jordy retweeted it, and Dan Slott retweeted it, and like all these big names in comics started tweeting it, because I tweeted out, and I was like, I told Declan Shalvey if he wasn't going to draw Moon Knight, he was never going to draw anything again. Ha ha ha. Wow. So he's just, like I said, a super nice guy, but his artwork, it's very minimalist, as opposed to like some of the rest of the people on my list. It's very minimalist style, but in Declan's case, it works. He has just a fantastic use of panel size and location. That again, it's not just within the panels, but the panels themselves, the way that he draws it. And you cannot talk about Declan Shalvey's artwork without mentioning Jordy Belaire's colors and the way that they combine and contrast white and negative space in their panels. It is absolutely incredible. And you know, Phil, you were talking about the shot of, you know, with the cape flowing in the background, and that is so beautiful because it's white, and it is pure white, and it contrasts against everything else. And that's throughout the entire series, whether it's Moon Knight or whether it's Mr. Knight, that the white is a clean white, and it contrasts against everything else. And that's a credit to Jordy, but I know that she worked with Declan on that. And again, to your point, I mean, he helped redefine Moon Knight visually with the Moon Knight suit and with the Mr. Knight. Declan for me is, like I said, super nice guy. And I love his work on Moon Knight. He's a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Ooh. All right, Chad, what's your number 2? Besides that.
I was gonna go with Declan Shelby. Wait, did I
Oh,
already do Declan Shelby?
I did.
Yeah.
You
Wait,
didn't. No, you had Opeña,
No.
Smallwood, and Ferreira. So
Yeah.
how dare you sweat what's written on your hand, Chad? Come on.
Deal with it. But yeah, Declan Shelby. I think I was going to talk to you about this in advance, like trying to get all of our picks out of the way from each other, but yeah.
no, there's no fun in that.
Yeah.
Fun? No. I love being not fun. Anyway, Declan Shelby, I see you hit on a lot of the topic. I really think that one of the best panels was in Sniper, though, when he's flying through the air at the sniper, obviously, and it's just, why can't I hit you? Well, I'm not real. And like you said, with the negative space and the clean white, it just really enforces this, almost like he's a specter. Like, you can't touch him. He's not real. Just
Is that the one where at the end where the drone sort of drops on and if you see me coming, run? Is that from that issue or is that?
yes.
Okay, yeah. I love the way that one opens where it's all the boxes and then one by one, like page to page, they disappear. You know, like each person, you know, they get shot and then they're gone. And then the next one, they get shot and they're gone until eventually there's only one person left. I love that. That is just, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, protecting the travelers of the night. That's another thing Ray ripped off. That's right.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
So Phil, you're number 2.
My number 2 is, I mean, it's probably selfish just because he's one of my favorite Marvel artists overall, one of my favorites of all time. He did issue 25 of Mark Spector Moon Knight, which was like a fill-in, and then he drew Round Robin, The Sidekick's Revenge, and Amazing Spider-Man, and then he drew Ultimate Moon Knight and Ultimate Spider-Man, Mark Bagley. So yeah, he drew like classic Moon Knight. And then, like I said, in the Ultimate Universe, he did like the Ultimate version of Moon Knight.
I forgot he is not in my 26. So technically he would be 27. I forgot about that.
So like I said, technically, I mean, he did one issue of an ongoing series. So,
but it counts.
Yeah. That was that Ghost Rider issue. So 90s, that hurts. But yeah, I just, like I said, I love Bagley in general. He's like my favorite Spider-Man artist. I love his work. It's just technically it's great. Just the mix of like, it's not quite realistic, but it's not like cartoony. It's, I don't know, I've never been able to completely pin it down, but I just love Bagley's art. I think, again, just like with Burroughs, he like elevates whatever you give him, like story wise, no matter how good or bad it is.
Well, Bagley is a machine.
Oh yeah.
Just I think, oh God, who is it? It was some colorist told me in like the 30 plus years of working for Marvel, Mark Bagley has never missed a deadline. And again, he drew like 110 consecutive issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's fucking ridiculous to go 110 issues and not miss a deadline. Plus everything else he's done.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was on Amazing Spider-Man for how long? I mean, he was in the middle of Clone Saga. I mean, just that Round Robin story with Moon Knight. I mean, there was Spider-Man, there was Moon Knight, there was Punisher, there was Night Thrasher, there was Nova. I mean, there were so many characters in that, and I think that was like I think that was the summer one, wasn't it? Wasn't it like bi-weekly? And yeah, he never missed the deadline.
No, he's just I'm surprised his arm hasn't fallen off at this point, but
and like the work never suffered. I don't think you could like look at an issue and be like, oh yeah, you could tell he rushed this one out or something. Yeah,
no, they're all quality.
And also that classic. He did the first how many years of New Warriors, that original New Warriors series.
Yeah. Yeah. Bagley's got a very distinctive style. You just, you know it as soon as you look at it. He was, I think he's the reason I got into Fantastic Four, because of his work on the Fantastic Four series, probably going back about 7 or 8 years. He did them. And then from then I was just like, oh, I actually, because I was never big into Fantastic Four, but I love Mark Bagley's artwork. So I got into the series because of that. And I'm pretty sure every subsequent series of Fantastic Four has been on my pull list to some extent or another. So
yeah, I just remember I got into Spider-Man during the McFarlane stuff. I read the McFarlane stuff. Then they go into Larson. Then they went to Bagley, and I was like, "Oh, who's this guy? I never heard of." I'm like, "Oh, is this gonna suck?" And I was like, "Oh, this is like my favorite Spider-Man artist."
yeah, Bagley's good stuff. So I guess we're now down to the number ones.
Oh, drum roll, people! All right, my number one pick, the one I think I think visually he's the father of modern Moon Knight. David Finch, who drew that the Houston run.
Yep.
The bottom.
Yes, because the minute you mention Moon Knight, the very first image that pops into my head is like that 2-page spread from the first issue of him diving out of the moon copter. That's the very first thing I always think of. Someone says Moon Knight.
I get to do the fun stuff.
Yes. I wear white so they see me coming. Yes. And added bonus, Ray. He did draw a bunch of Batman also. So
If I don't know if obviously the people listening can't see this, but the two of you may be able to look over my shoulder. Is a Finch commissioned piece. It is Moon Knight fighting the guy from Disturbed.
Oh, nice.
Because Finch did the cover for one of the Disturbed issues, our albums, and so I got him to do it at a New Jersey con, and he said, "This is the first time anybody's ever asked me to draw this, or do a commission of the guy. Like everybody asked him to do Moon Knight. He goes, no one's ever asked me to draw the guy." And I was like, "Well, I want them fighting."
I mean, I love his art, and again, like I said, I think he like set the tone for modern Moon Knight, because I mean, that was like the first ongoing I think we got since like the 90s. And oh yeah, bring it up. Nice.
Jeez,
that's awesome. But yeah, like I said, I think he set the tone for all these modern runs and stuff, and
then there is another Finch piece that I have commissioned. That's just a bust of Moon Knight, ink and pencil. So
Anthony, do you like Dave Finch's art?
I like Moon Knight.
Nice. But yeah, like I said, it's just and again, it seems like all his art was great. Even gotta cut a fucker's face off. It's it worked. Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. Yeah, Ray, this is the most me and Anthony don't get to swear on our shows. So we're gonna come over here and do it.
Cut a fucker's face off. We're drinking,
Talk about small wood.
Yeah. Speaking of, Chad, what was your number one pick?
My number one was Finch.
Oh,
just
nice.
Because that Taskmaster scene was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I just really love, not so much like the primary action, like flying the jet in, but when he's like resolving, when he's got him pinned down and he's got the crescent in the sky, just like some malevolence, and he like starts cutting away and you're not sure how deep it's going, but you just see that just flat plane torn away, and oh god, how much of that is his face, and then bam, it's just baby-faced Tasky just sitting there crying.
And he like drew Taskmaster like a badass, and it was even in that original suit too.
Go ahead, kill me. See if that works. I love that line. I wish there was, a way I could like work that into my regular expressions. Like, go ahead, kill me. See if that works this time.
And
Yeah.
he did an awesome Khonshu and everything, Again, basically setting like the modern appearance for Khonshu, and rather than just being this like stone-faced idol.
Yeah, that's one thing I really liked about Vengeance in the Moon Knight was you actually got to have Khonshu walk around with Mark.
Yes.
It wasn't just like vague menacing things in the background. It's like, no, that's a creepy skeleton man that's like 3 stories tall.
Yeah, but he has some funny one-liners sometimes.
Yeah.
Kind of deep right in. All right, Anthony. All right, Anthony, who's your number one? Did you get a prop? I saw you get up.
I did get a prop. But before I get into my number one, I do want to just rattle off a couple of honorable mentions because my number one is not David Finch. David Finch is number 7 for me. I agree with everything y'all said. I do have to knock Finch just a tad though, because nobody smiles and everybody has the same face.
It's the smiling. It's Moon Knight. Come on.
Yeah, but everybody has the same like gritted teeth. Everybody's like gritting their teeth or shouting, like, and visually, like, he makes Moon Knight look like the rest of the characters. And this isn't necessarily in Moon Knight, but when he was drawing the Avengers, because he did the Disassembled with Bendis, everybody looks, aside from their hair, like that was how you could tell Tony Stark different from Steve Rogers, different from everybody else, is like the hairstyles and the costumes. But otherwise, everybody has, everybody is like on steroids because their anatomies are all hyper stylized and just massively over jacked. So Finch is my number 7. My number 6 is Jermaine Peralta. He was clearly inspired by the Shalvey Smallwood style. But I do like that he made Khonshu look very monstrous. I wasn't crazy about his faces either, although they weren't ugly. There's just something about him. And I will also say, let me say where a couple of the rest of your picks fell. Smallwood for me was number 11 on my list.
That's criminal.
I'm sorry. Jason Burrows is number 10. Number 9 was Mark Teixeira. Number 8 was Tang En Huat, who did some, I think, 2 issues on the Vengeance series. He did the Killed But Not Dead.
The Deadpool.
The Deadpool arc. It's a very manic style. He could use a little better framing. And of the 26 artists that I ranked, number 26 at the bottom, rating a 2.5 out of 10, was Stephen Platt. You want to talk Liefeldian anatomy? There's a thing in number 55 where he's standing there and his calf is a full, like, if I'm framing this correctly, his calf is and lower leg are like 4 inches behind where they should be in relation to the rest of his upper leg. And so there's just like this like angle line, like it's like upper leg, like sharp angle, and then calf. And it's like, you couldn't have like erased that and drawn it over again. It's just like Platt is just like peak 90s. It was such a shit show. But
especially the art, the writing, that whole arc was just a shit show.
It's just the whole thing. But Stephen Platt for me, and I was like, and yet 55 is one of the hardest issues to get because it's like his first big comic, and I was like, really, this fucking guy.
I think I have that issue. The only Mark Spector Moon Knight I don't have is, what is it? Is it 57? Whatever one, the Spider-Man, that cover. That's the only one I can't find.
No. 55 was the last one that I needed. My mother got it for me. She got me 55 and 56 for like my birthday or Christmas or something like that. She got them on eBay because she was constantly getting sniped at the last minute by these Stephen Platt aficionados. Who they are, I don't know, but they need a session with Doc. But I digress.
Stephen Platt's mom.
My number one, and this should come as absolutely no surprise to anybody who has heard me talk about Moon Knight and my favorite Moon Knight story arc of all time, is Ron Garney.
Oh,
Ron Garney
Okay.
is a master.
yes,
He is so fucking good. Framing, expression, motion, anatomy is on point. Such a distinct style, even back in an era where you still sort of had house style, was still sort of a thing in the late 80s, early 90s, before artists really started to, really thoroughly express themselves. Scarlet Redemption, and I have spoken about my love for the Scarlet Redemption story arc. Both J.M. DeMatteis's writing, who I had the pleasure of helping Ray interview for this show, and Ron Garney's artwork. And what I went to go get, the prop, which I can show you, is the original artwork from the last page of the third issue of the arc, where Stained Glass Scarlet is on the boat, surrounded by flames coming out of the water, and this world must burn. I spent, I want to say $300 on this, $250, $300. I saw it at a convention in New Jersey, and I called up my wife, and because as soon as I saw it, I was just flipping through it. They had a book of original artwork for Moon Knight, and I was like, it was mostly like talking heads, and they had some Finch pieces in there and this and that, and I was like, yeah, I could own original art, but it's just fucking talking heads and there's nothing to it. And then I flip and I see that, and I know immediately what it is, and I go, oh, I must have this. I will go through any lengths to buy it. And I call up my wife, and God bless my wife, she knows how much I love Ron Garney, and she knows how much I love that story arc, and she goes, okay, you want it? It was like October, and she goes, "That's early Christmas present for you." I had the pleasure of meeting him. He signed the artwork, and he signed the comics for me. Ron Garney is just a gentleman, but as far as art goes, he is he's just absolutely amazing, and a 9.9 out of 10 to me. Just Ron Garney is just, so he is my number one Moon Knight artist, not named Bill Sienkiewicz.
But yeah,
Yes.
that Stained Glass Scarlet storyline is good, and I know Ray and I even covered the one after it with Spider-Man, and they're fighting the Hobgoblin. I think Garney did that one too. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Never met Garney. I'd love to. Yeah, I also interviewed DeMatteis, great guy.
Oh yeah, he's just so much fun, and I got to meet him at New York Comic Con as well, and I had him sign the Scarlet Redemption story, and he was like, "Oh, this was just like a sort of like one-off." He said, "Is this little story I did for Marvel? Everybody wants to talk about like Kraven's Last Hunt or that story, and for him, the Scarlet Redemption storyline was like a whatever." But so he goes, "I always remember when people are like really into it because it's not common for him."
Oh yeah, DeMatteis has done so many things: Captain America, Defenders, all this stuff. Yeah, and everyone's just like, "Oh, what about Kraven's Last Hunt?"
So, but Ron Garney, for me, is just solid. So I have to get that piece framed next to like the finished version. I have to buy. I need to get it custom framed, but nobody's open right now in New Jersey because as of 6 minutes ago, the entire state has been shut down because of that Rona. So,
Yep.
Yeah. But yes, I told Ray, next time we got to do like top 5 writers.
yes, I'm down for that as well.
Maybe we get the king himself, Ray, here to join us.
Oh no, guys, it's been a little bit busy. Yeah, things are crackers down here.
I know.
I'm heaps busy.
He'll throw out some like he'll be going on. He'll throw out some weird term. I'm like, what's it? Wait, what?
Heaps busy. And he's gonna listen back to this and he's like, you.
Oh no, one of my co-hosts
Bastards.
one of my co-hosts has like a Ray impression, because like Ray will send in feedback to some of our shows, and he'll be like, oh hi, my name is Ray, I'm just sending you some feedback while I'm on lunch break at the Boomerang Factory. Ray loves it because Matt's from Boston, so that now Ray's working on his Boston accent. It's hilarious. Next time you talk to Ray, ask him to do his Boston accent.
Oh God. Gotta be fucking
It's gonna
terrible.
be bad.
Down in the car park. Yeah.
I'm the guy that does his fucking job. You must be the other guy.
My lunch break at the Boomerang Factory. I have to come back around in an hour.
We love you, Ray.
Everybody listening to this is like, please, Ray, come back next week, please.
Please shut these assholes up.
Boy, I wonder why Noel didn't want to join us.
I can't imagine.
Right? Should we mention that his 2 picks were?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had Declan and Tommy Lee Edwards were his top. Tommy Lee incidentally made 17 on my list. So Noel's probably like, fuck you, man. I had him as number 1. You had him 17? You're out of your goddamn mind.
All right, I know you said Ron Garney was 9.9. Is there any artist? I mean, it doesn't have to be Moon Knight. Is there any artist in your opinion who's a 10?
I mean, like overall, or like on certain things?
Whatever your rating system. Yeah, I mean overall. Like, is there an artist who merits a 10 in your opinion?
10 would have to be like flawless. I mean, for me, I'll put it this way. For me, if Sienkiewicz was a 10, then everybody else,
Okay.
that was my ranking system. Like everybody else was compared to Sienkiewicz. So if Sienkiewicz is a 10, then everybody else is, based on that. So that's why Ron Garney was like a 9.9.
Okay, so in the human pyramid, Sienkiewicz is standing on Garney's shoulders. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Understood. Any final thoughts, or should we promote the hell out of ourselves and get out of here?
I got nothing other than, don't fucking buy the Stephen Platt books because they're not worth it. I mean, unless you're a completionist like me, in which case, like, okay, you have to buy them, but they are not worth the gobs of money that people are spending, people are selling them for on eBay. It's like Rob Liefeld levels of ridiculousness where you're like, what the fuck? How did this make it past? Somebody should have like just taken like a red pen and just like circled all this shit and just shoved it in his face like a dog shitting on the carpet. And you'd be like, do you see? No, don't do this. Just like rub his nose in it.
I mean, I don't know if it's just like some of the accomplishments some of these people do, because it's like Liefeld. It's like, okay, Crow created Deadpool. He had like this run on X-Force and stuff, but it's like, but the dude can't draw feet
Or hands.
and he draws huge
weapons,
and he draws huge
or women.
Captain America,
Yeah, that
Dorito Captain America.
like triple E's on Captain America. Yeah.
The sideways, like the sideways tits with the like what? How is that even remotely a feasible, functional human form?
And his entire face is just like angles, and there's just bone structure. Like anything else is like itty bitty.
I don't know what would be more fun, our top 5 writers or just like top 5 who sucks in the industry.
It's like Rob Liefeld looked at Jessica Rabbit and goes, no, she looks too fat.
A female waist? What is that?
Yeah. It's kind of like early Frank Cho. Just like the constant same face in every single person. He's gotten better, but it's just
See, I don't know enough about early Cho, but I mean, Cho to me draws incredibly realistic women. Sometimes too realistic.
Now he does.
Yes, now he does.
Now he does.
I think maybe now he's seen enough women.
Yeah, probably.
He can draw them realistically.
Oh my lord! Tell me that they want to see Jim Ballant Catwoman. Holy crap!
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah. Well, it's the early '90s art, you know.
Okay.
Cat burglar. I'm surprised she has any sense of balance, but anyway. All right, are we done burning Ray's show to the ground?
Yes.
I think so.
Sorry, Ray. All right. So
He's listening to this going, shut up, you fuckers. I'm not going to have any listeners left.
yeah, I don't think we're coming back. All
Good
right.
thing we have a Patreon.
But he's such a nice guy. He'll still listen to this, even if he hates it, and be like, "Oh, guys, great job, guys."
Like I could edit some of this out.
I know every other word is going to get the Batman bleep, bleep, bleep.
That was only the second time I think we said that name.
Second or third, yeah.
That's the third.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ray, but
Chad's keeping track.
Yeah. Sorry.
All
Ray.
right. Go ahead, Phil. Plug your shit.
Well, first, I'm going to plug my shit. Yeah. So check if you're not completely disgusted by me, you can always check me out on the Capes and Lunatics and the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast. That's right too. On Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks, we cover a lot of older stuff, including on Ultimate Spider Cast. You can even hear Ray once a month, the last Tuesday of every month, as we cover Scarlet Spider. So yeah. We cover new stuff, old stuff, all of it. Yeah, just check out Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks on all good podcatchers, as Ray would say. We're on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. We even have a YouTube channel. We record just like this, and we put the videos up on YouTube. So, yeah, go subscribe there. Anthony.
So Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. We are a show that delves into the psychiatric and mental health issues of comic book characters. And so our website is capesonthecouch.live, and you can find us wherever podcasts are found. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Capes on the Couch. We have a Discord channel. We have a Patreon where you can subscribe and get additional content, bloopers, uncensored, additional content in episodes, early access, etc. And we have a TeePublic store where you can buy some swag. So if you go to teepublic.com and look for Capes on the Couch, you can buy our logo. And I think that ought to do it. Yeah, our 75th episode. Well, by the time this airs, the 75th episode will have been passed. But we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Thanks to our patrons and Doc and I, we have a lot of fun discussing and analyzing characters in all the various episodes.
All right. Power of Smallwood. Where can people find you?
Not in their pants.
I just killed Anthony.
I mean, I'm just a guy. I don't have a channel. I don't have any special projects. I'm just kind of a loser.
I know you got a Facebook. I'm friends with you, you fucker.
I'm Chad Jernigan on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm Angledheim. That's ANGLED, not Angeled Time, please. Some people.
You almost made Phil do a spit take there.
Not in the age of Corona.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So thank you, Looney listeners. Remember, check out the Into the Night Patreon. Can check it out, and please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight. There's plenty of incentives to join, and it'll help expand the show. And once again, show is sponsored by Hello Headphones. Use the code ITK Moon Knight promo code to get 10% off their online store. And check out the affiliates, Amazon and Entertainment Earth. Use the links to purchase anything online, and each purchase helps support the show. And speaking of supporting the show, go to TeePublic, check out the merchandise store for IPK. The link will be in the show description because, Ray's not going to let that go. And the Fantasy Comic League new season commences in the beginning of May. So anyone interested, drop a line in as soon as you can, and we can organize divisions. $16 US to enter. Winner of division gets a trade paperback of their choice. I might have to look into this. And next phase, when I believe, I'm sure Ray will be back because the rebuild after we destroyed everything. It'll be a first quarter moon, so the segment will be Khonshu's Idols review, aka action figures. All right, and remember the collective. We're all part of the collective, especially me and Anthony, which is a band of like-minded podcasters who wanted to network in the most traditional sense. It is a repository for ideas, crossovers, and potential guest appearances between the podcasts, and include the likes of, I'll do 3 other ones, even though Capes and Lunatics and Capes on the Couch are a part of that.
We are not part of the collective, actually. Sorry.
Really?
No, we're not a part of any network officially. Oh. We do support all the shows in the collective, though. We are collective adjacent.
Oh, see, I'm part of the collective, and we're also part of the Southgate Media Group. So, I'm
like Red Man. Like, we're not in Wu-Tang, but we're cool with everybody in Wu-Tang, and we guest on all their shit. So,
at first I thought you were going to say you're like meth. I was going to say, I got to hear this one.
Yeah.
Once you listen to one, you can't stop.
METHOD, man.
But yes, the collective.
First taste is free.
All right, so the collective, which includes Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics sidekicks, also Sons of the Dragon and Immortal Iron Fist podcast. Connor, Rebecca, and Carl do a great job over there. Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast. Brian, you're killing it solo now. If you ever need a guest host, get in touch. And I guess we should mention Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. The other show Ray does with another Connor, because, most of his show, he just has an army of Connors to co-host with. All right. So let me go through these notes. Okay. Where to find Into the Night? You can email the show and say, hey, those 3 guys you had on last week suck. Email itkmoonnight@gmail.com. On Facebook, you can find the Into the Night page, and there's a fan group on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Get vocal. There's an ITK website on Libsyn and WordPress, Patreon, and Podchaser. So check out the podcast episode description for all the details. Every episode. All right. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Ray, for letting us play with your toys and break them.
Thank you, Ray, for letting us fuck up your show. we completely shit all over it. He's like, I'll let my friends come over. It'll be fine. They're not going to ruin anything. How bad could it be?
I'm sorry, Mom. I just shouldn't have had that party, especially when I wasn't there.
Ray comes back, the house is on fire. Holy shit, it's going.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about Australia and fires right now.
Oh.
Just saying.
I'm sorry. Well, Khonshu's going to come and rip my face off now.
I'm sorry, Ray.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Planet Earth, but we'll make it up to you. But until next time, when Ray comes back and restores order, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.